Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. By the way, I do want to remind you, best content here does show up over there at the national news website, usdailyreview.com. Great articles, and in fact, it's a great archive as well of shows for the Price of Business show. You'll find our interview with U.S. Senator Rand Paul, which I love that interview. It was, in fact, one of his last interviews before he withdrew from the race, plus much, much more. Make sure you check that out and more there at usdailyreview.com. Matt Towery, he's our guest. He's the author of an outstanding book. It's called News Vesting, that, frankly, every person needs to read. People need to understand what's happening to their finances. They need to stop being victims. If you feel like you're being victimized by your portfolio, it's because you're not linking your portfolio to the news that's out there. Matt Towery's book helps you do just that, newsvesting.com. Matt, really glad to have you on the program. Glad to be able to talk to you about these important things. So when it comes to looking at the news, do you have certain principles that you suggest the reader to abide by when it comes to their portfolio and the news?
Yeah, actually, this is a very methodical but very easy to follow sort of way to go about gathering news. I merged what I learned in law school, that we use a system called the IRAC system in law school, which you identify your issue, and then you give your analysis, and you apply the rule, and then you reach a conclusion. And then competitive debate. I was a debater in high school and early college, and I was Newt Gingrich's first debate coach. Can you imagine that?
That must have been fun.
How long I've been around. But yeah, I think Newt would probably say he probably went far beyond what I could ever help him with. That said, you apply these principles of gathering information, and I explain how to do it, and it's very simple. You just get sort of a religious, everyday habit of getting up, looking at the Wall Street Journal, and going online. You look at news from the left, you look at news from the right, you go to the major networks, you go to business, finance sites, but it doesn't take you very long. And as you start to, as we call it, flow, you start to put down every day the major news stories and themes that you're seeing, or the ones that catch your eye. You'll find the ones that are consistently being talked about, perhaps in small paragraphs and the like, that as they get bigger and bigger, you're already ahead of it because you already realize that this is a new topic that's coming up. And it's a great way of then moving forward. And then I always say work with an investment advisor, whether a broker or a financial advisor, because I don't ever suggest that someone just do this on their own. But it allows you to go to them with knowledge that oftentimes they don't have themselves.
Yeah.
You're certainly not going to get it from Wall Street because they're always behind the news.
Yeah,
so,
don't treat your investment advisor.
You start talking about, well, I'm seeing this, for example. I talked about the defense stocks. Great example of when we saw after the breakdown of following the Arab Spring, and then over the last few years, and then leading up, of course, to Iran and the agreement with the U.S. and other countries with Iran, you could see that around the world there was a buildup in the purchase of defense-related contracting and defense machinery. And as a result, these defense stocks were just going sky high all last year while the S&P and Dow stayed flat. So
yes.
That was one good example of how if you just follow the news and then you said, gee, who's going to profit from this? Well, of course, it's the companies that were getting these huge contracts, and they're continuing to do well. They're really not being hurt very much in this correction that we've just gone through.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, people, I think, tend to treat their investment advisor, and we only have about 30 seconds left, they treat them like a higher power when the reality is the advisor works for you. And the only way that's going to happen is if you can hold them accountable. Books like News Vesting allows them to do that. Talk about that as we wrap up the segment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I go to my investment folks and I say, look, I'm seeing this and this. And sometimes they give me advice I don't like, and I'm not going to go with it. Other times I say, look, I'm getting a bad feeling because I'm finding this. I want out of this and rotate into something else, or perhaps go to a little more cash in my portfolio. So you're the boss, and having news vesting sort of helps you be able to be on equal footing with your advisor.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, can we hold you for one more segment?
Sure.
All right, Matt Towery. He's the author of the book News Vesting, and we're delighted to have him on the program. Make sure you check out this book. I don't know, about $20 or whatever it costs would be the best $20 you spend in a long time when it comes to a book. And what's interesting about it is that unlike a lot of financial books out there that are kind of dry and kind of This book really is very engaging because you can see it. It's in the headlines. You're seeing the headlines translate to profits or ruin. So make sure you check it out. More for you after this on The Price of Business.